everyone, so today I'm going to be demonstrating how to do the corner to corner granny stitch square. So we're going to start by making a magic loop or a magic ring, depending on what you call it, which we have there. And now we're going to work 5 stitches into this ring. We're going to start by chaining 1 and working an extended double crochet. So for those of you who don't know, yarn over, pop your hook through the ring, pull up a loop, and you will have 3 loops on your hook. You're then going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And that is an extended double crochet. You're then going to work a granny stitch cluster, which is 3 double crochets together. And another extended double crochet. So yarn over, hook into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 1 loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So you now have 5 stitches going into your magic ring, and you can pull it tight. This is going to form the corner for our square. Next, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do that at the end of every row. Now, very similarly, we're going to start with an extended double crochet, but instead of working into the top of that first extended double crochet, we're going to work it between the extended double crochet and the double crochet next to it. So work that stitch in there. And now we're going to put a granny stitch cluster into that same space. So 3 double crochets. Next, we're going to skip the granny stitch cluster from the previous round. Find that gap between the double crochet at the end of the cluster and the extended double crochet and put a granny stitch cluster into that space. Sliding off my hook there. Just grab a bit more yarn. And then to finish, we're just going to put an extended double crochet into that same space. And there we go, we have row 2. Now we're going to repeat this same pattern for every row during the increasing phase of our square. So that means that both sides of our square are getting longer. So for each row, you're going to start and end with an extended double crochet. In the gap between the extended double crochet and the first granny cluster, you're going to put a granny cluster, same at the other end, so in that space there. And then wherever you have a gap between granny clusters, you're also going to put a granny cluster. So I'm going to demonstrate with this 3rd row. So chain 1 and turn, do your extended, sorry, my yarn's pulling, extended double crochet into that first space, then do your granny cluster, then you've got 2 granny clusters here side by side, so you're going to work a granny cluster in between them. And then you've got your granny cluster and your extended double crochet to finish the row. So we're going to start with a granny cluster into that space. And then we're going to finish with an extended double crochet. So that is the first 3 rows of our square. As you can see, it's starting to take shape. Now you're going to continue that pattern that I just mentioned and demonstrated until your square is half of the size that you want it to be. So this bottom edge and this side edge on the left here are as long as you would like, and you then want to start reducing towards the next corner. So I shall meet you at that stage. So I've decided that I am ready to start decreasing. As this is only a swatch, I have worked a total of 4 rows, and we're now going to start decreasing. So you're going to chain 1 and turn as normal. Now instead of starting with an extended double crochet, you're actually going to start with a double crochet into that first space. Then instead of putting a granny stitch cluster into that same space, we're going to skip it and start putting a granny stitch cluster into the next space. We're going to continue along the row as normal, popping granny stitch clusters in between granny stitch clusters. And when you come to that last cluster with the extended half double crochet, again, instead of putting a granny stitch cluster in there first, you're going to skip straight to the extended double crochet. Let me just grab a bit more yarn. You're then going to chain 1 and turn. And you're going to follow the same pattern for each row. So instead of starting with an extended double crochet, you're going to start with a regular double crochet. You're going to avoid putting a granny stitch cluster into that first space and go straight into the next one. You're going to work your way along the row. And then when you get to that final cluster, and this time it's with a double crochet next to it, you're going to put an extended double crochet. Whoops. There we go. And you're going to repeat this pattern until you are down to just one granny stitch cluster. So come back and meet me then. So on this row, I've got my double crochet, my granny cluster, and my extended half double crochet. And there's no more left to work into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to do a double crochet straight into this space here. So I'm skipping that first space between the extended half double crochet and the granny cluster and going into that last space for the row to make a double crochet, and then you chain 1 and you're going to cut your yarn and pull out your end, and there you have it. Whoops, excuse the hair. You have your corner to corner granny stitch square. I hope you found this helpful. Happy crocheting!